235 and it's awesome. It's gotta be one of the best crossover monster films of all time. It has some good script writing, awesome monster images, like I wish they did longer, and an awesome yet menacing score directed by Ishiro Honda. King Kong vs. Godzilla tells the story of how a rating crazy businessman unwittingly brings the giant gorilla to face off against everyone's favorite giant lizard, one of the greatest comics and matches of all time. The story starts off with our ratings executive wanting something to boost ratings. Same time, before submarine called the Seahawk goes missing off the coast of Alaska. Little do they suspect that the iceberg they crashed into, the same one that Godzilla has been imprisoned into since 1955. Now, over the course of 7 years, he seemed to have mutated into a more reptilian form, and seemed to become larger and bulkier and possibly fatter, so due to hibernation. And he attacks and destroys a nuclear submarine that woke him up, until he breaks free of the iceberg and decides to wade his way across the ocean and make landfall on an Arctic base that he destroys. While that's happening, on the other side of the Pacific is a small island called Faro, and that's where a group of scientists were dispatched there to seek down this mighty spirit of the mountain, or whatever it's called. Now, this is where it differs from the original Kong, because in the original, it was called Skull Island, and the natives there were hostile, and decided to make use of a sacrifice for one of them. And Kong agrees to the sacrifice and takes her to the forest. This time, however, they were able to make a truce with the natives by using a radio and a catchy pop song and a couple cigarettes, which they all enticed themselves to, and they decided to let them stay. However, just as they were allowed to, a thunderbolt strikes, and the natives, fearing for their lives, decided to take part in a ritual designed to ward off the monster away. At first, the scientists think it was just nothing but superstition. However, they heard a really, truly barbaric animal growl. I mean, the growl was Kong, of course, but I like how they made him growl like really intimidating. I mean, because compared to the 2005 version of Kong, this one looks really derpy, but sounds a lot more menacing. And when they hear this roar, all the scientists are starting to bow down in terror of this menace. But the storm passed on and nothing happened. However, hours later, a giant octopus appears in its path and starts terrorizing one of the village buildings, which contain a located inside. And as soon as that giant octopus shows up, out comes Kong. And boy, did the special effects in this one are either really good or really bad. After a really cool fight with him wrestling an octopus, it was able to drive it back to where it came, and Kong roars in victory. After that's done, he drinks a couple of jars of berry juice, and that causes him to fall asleep. And once he does, the entire tribe surrounds him and performs a ritual, as in they were thanking or respecting him for inadvertently saving them. And during this ritual, the scientists decide to smuggle it to Japan by building a raft and tying it down with ropes. At the same time, Godzilla is trudging through Japan near Sendai, destroying a train that was bound for Hokkaido in the process. While that's happening, the JSDF intercept the ship that has Kong Totem behind it and order them to stop, or they'll either pay the price or be under arrest. Depends on the version you have. Around that same dispute, Kong wakes up, and everyone decides to separate the rat from him. However, the executive does not want to in fear for losing his business. Typical greed. They do end up detonating the raft, but it was all for nothing because Kong survived, and he's furious. Rather than destroy the ship, he tries to find where the nearest piece of land is, and hopefully he can find his way home. Well, they know that he is walking straight towards Godzilla, and a battle would be inevitable. The first battle was more of a skirmish, as it just involved Kong throwing rocks and Godzilla shooting his atomic breath in retaliation, aside from dancing and waving his arms like that. So after about a minute or so, Kong retreats and Godzilla tells him, "Yeah, you better run," before he goes away himself. While that was happening, the JSDF prepared a bunch of electrical towers, reminiscent to the first film. Only this time they're charged with 1,000,000 volts of electricity, compared to 300,000 in King of the Monsters and 50,000 in the original. It does a trick against Godzilla, who then walks away. But for Kong, he got stronger and more powerful for it. It didn't phase him at all. And it's probably implied that the lightning back at Faro Island might have been responsible for why Kong was huge and strong in the first place. And that the electricity is probably just a snack that he thinks humans have provided for him. So he easily breaks through the wires and makes his way to Tokyo, kidnaps a girl, and climbs his way on top of the dive building. Again, another reference to the original 1933 film. However, there's also a difference. Instead of fire planes flying around the building and trying to shoot him down, they decide to try and calm him down with his same ritual that's been used on him when he was in Faro Island. So, they released some tranquilizer missiles in the air that released some berry juice that Kong was known to be drunk to. And they played his song over on the speakers. And the plan works, as he lets go of the girl and he passes out in front of the building. But rather than kill him, they decide to have him and Godzilla fight to their deaths. While they're doing that, they heard that Godzilla is on Mount Fuji, trying to traverse the mountain, and decide to set Kong there as well. So via hot air balloon lifts, they decide to transport him there and drop him onto Godzilla. And it was pretty creative how they did the drop. I mean, because in the film you see Kong sliding right down towards Godzilla, and he tackles him with full force, and the two tumble straight down to the force below. This time the real fight begins. Now this time they have no mercy for each other. Kong and Godzilla just duke it out, mano a mano, no holds barred, straight rules, everything goes. And Godzilla already has gained the upper hand, even though Kong has shown his resilience to his atomic breath. And Godzilla recognizes this and decides to go with him hand-to-hand combat. And uses his tail as well. And Kong decides to use Godzilla's brute strength against him, and you guessed it, try to do the iconic image just seen on the screen. Kong grabs Godzilla's tail and just throws him in the air. such a shame that he doesn't actually do it as he struggles. But yeah, there he goes. Godzilla sees this and then he tries to go agile, which works because Kong ends up hitting himself with a rock, and Godzilla buries him under an avalanche, hoping to end him once for all. Just as he finishes, a reconvened thunderstorm arrives Kong and grounds him an electrical grip type, and he uses it to its full potential. He grabs Godzilla's tail and flings him all the way across the valley, all the way to the other side of the coast. And nobody knows what happened to them. And a violent earthquake ensued, and a bunch of bubbles appear underwater, and then they see something uprising to the surface, and it's King Kong rising from the water. Victorious over this battle, he decides to swim back home to Faroe Island, probably because he misses it and wants to rest up after a long day of unusual events happening to him. As for Godzilla, nobody knows, except many hope that that battle would be the last of them, and that King Kong had killed him somehow. And the professor, however, doubts it. And they say it is possible that he might have survived. But whatever the case may be, he concludes that humans still have a lot to learn when it comes to blending with their surroundings. And to this day, that is true. The film kick-started what would be the standard of monster fighting movies. With good screenwriting and awesome score, fights that are interesting. I mean, it had it all. Special effects were top-notch at the time, and some actually still hold up to this day. But some then sadly aren't. Directed by Ishiro Honda, scored by Akira Ifukube, special effects by Eiji Tsuburaya, with Haruo Nakajima as Godzilla once again. This movie is one of the best in the Godzilla series. Consider you let special effects and bad cinematography slide, because even though this is one of the best, it actually suffered one of the worst in treatment. And they can tell because both Criterion movies with this film have a bunch of extra footage like splattered all over the place. It looked like a mess. But it doesn't bother me, because at least it was complete and everything looked fine, and we still got to see some nice monster action. The film was so popular that it even got released so many times, including one right after, just 2 years afterwards in 1964, then another one in 1977, then another one in 1983, another one in 1991, another one in 1998, I think. Well, I don't know. It's gone through a bunch of re-releases. It even got released into the modern era with a 4K restoration of the original Japanese print. Toho re-released King Kong vs. Godzilla in 2017 or 16 in 4K resolution. Remaster for a limited time only. Though it was only in Japan because they still held the rights to that. As for America, Universal Pictures took care of the distribution rights here, re-edited the film, and decided to take an approach similar to King of the Monsters, casting American actors as UN reporters, reporting on whatever Godzilla and Kong were doing. And they re-edited the film, they cut out a bunch of parts, the script was entirely been rewritten. But the most jarring sequence in my head is this part right here. They're biased against Godzilla. I mean, they compared his brain is the size of a marble as sheer brute force. I mean, come on, give a little credit to the Japanese screenwriters. I mean, he is seen to have intelligence in the film. And yes, Kong has his own fair share of dumb moments. So they're both kind of evenly matched on the intelligence level. I mean, just because he has a bigger brain doesn't mean he's more powerful. The film actually got its start from the original Kong creator Willis O'Brien, who wanted to make a new Kong movie in the 60s. And no studio would want to produce it after the controversy of the original. However, John Beck was overhearing it and decided to take the script to Toho and make him fight a monster Frankenstein. Toho liked the idea, but replaced Frankenstein with Godzilla. And the rest is history. Now, as soon as the cut was finished, John Beck didn't feel like the cut would resonate with American audiences, so he heavily re-edited the film and replaced all of Ifikube's score with stock footage music from other Universal Pictures releases such as Creature from the Black Lagoon, Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. It came from wherever it is. Basically, it replaced everything except for the jungle cue of the natives. The script was rewritten, scenes were rearranged, and as you saw, they denigrated Godzilla's appearance. And he sold the film's rights to Universal Pictures, who still have the rights to this day of King Kong. And they briefly owned Legendary Pictures, and while owning them, they released Kong Skull Island before they got reverted back to Warner Brothers. For many years, the US version was the only film to be seen in America until about Criterion releasing the Japanese cut, and Universal Pictures also released the Japanese cut a bit earlier in their DVD releases too. And over the years, there has been this rumor of a so-called double ending, where over the years there was this fad that said that if you watched this movie in the East, third sector, basically Japan, China, Russia, Hong Kong, Australia, Godzilla wins. But if you watch it in the United States or Canada or Mexico, Kong wins. And considering that I unboxed the entire Showa collection, which included both versions of the film, and I will say it again so that all you flat earthers over there can take a gulp of it. There is no double ending. It's all a hoax. Toho has confirmed that Kong is the winner as far back as the weekend after release. And he has been the winner for all these years, making this fight Godzilla's first loss and one win. I mean, seriously, who actually still believes in this stuff nowadays? Toho has confirmed since the very beginning that Kong has been the winner because back then, Kong was more popular than Godzilla, so it was obvious what to do to win audiences over. And two, Godzilla was kind of unpopular at the time due to his failure in Godzilla Raids Again, so Kong was a natural choice. And doing so, they earned a lot of money, 350 million yen, or about $30 million. And it's the most attended Godzilla and Kong film of all time, even holding up to today's remakes and reboots. I mean, it has left behind a pretty astonishing legacy. The special effects were amazing, most of them were good. In fact, while producing Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest, the animators had trouble with the Kraken and its tentacles and showing how could it move and stuff like that. The lead animator actually told his subordinates to watch King Kong vs. Godzilla because of Eiji Tsuburaya's octopus scene that he put together alongside King Kong. And so they used that, and they finally got their idea to work. And even they had trouble with octopuses, and they had to use a hairdryer to make it move. And once filming was done, they released most of them because one of them became Eiji Tsuburaya's dinner as compensation for all the trouble he had to go through making that scene. And boy, did that pay off. So yeah, sum it up, the pros outweigh the cons. You get a good monster fight, some good screenwriting, good comedic punchlines, and an awesome score by Akira Ifukube. The cons, though, was some of the effects are pretty noticeable and obvious. Sometimes the film would drag, and the US version kind of ruins it with its American actors and stock footage and stock music. So definitely watch the Japanese version first, then the American version later, and then compare the two. See which one's better for your tastes. Because version or other version, it's a movie not to be missed. It is one of the truly greatest films in the Showa era, and Godzilla and Kong. So yeah, till then, just keep on stomping.